Robert A. Lane, welcome to the Apollo Papyrus podcast.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here, Aaron.
You founded your own coaching firm, which is called, is it Robert Lane Coaching or Robert A. Lane Coaching?
It's called Robert Lane Coaching. I use Robert A. Lane. It's just been something that I've done for so many years.
Okay. What services does your coaching firm provide, and what motivated you to get into audiobook coaching and production?
Yes, well, I am an audiobook coach and producer, and I specialize in helping authors. Most of my clients are nonfiction authors, but getting them to narrate their own audiobook, doing it in their own voice. And that's such an important thing, especially for nonfiction authors, because, again, it's your story. You're sharing your story that only you, the author who lived it, you've breathed it, you've written about it, and now you need to speak it in your own words. So it's just something that I just really love doing. I have an entertainment background. I worked 30 plus years in the entertainment industry and a variety of facets of the business. And I've been an audio guy for many, many years, doing audio editing and production. And after I left the business, I wanted to do something that I felt would be more beneficial and helpful to others. So that's when I created Robert Lane Coaching. And I thought, I'm going to take all this audio background and see what I can do to help authors narrate their own audiobook. Because again, I feel it's so important for them to tell their own story.
You talked about your prior work in the entertainment industry. I should say you briefly mentioned it. What was that like?
Well, it's funny. I my first exposure to the entertainment industry, and this goes way back, when I was a little kid, the guy, my best friend, lived in the house behind ours. Now, he lived with his grandfather, and his grandfather was the special effects man who did Jaws. And when we were little kids, his grandfather actually took us to the place where they were building the shark. So we got to see behind the scenes before that movie even came out, which was, obviously 50 years ago. So it's been a long time. But that really stuck with me. And I knew that I wanted to work in the entertainment industry in one way or another. And that's kind of what started it all. And then I first started working in radio. And that eventually led to other facets of the business, doing on-camera work, off-camera work, production work. I spent the last 14 years of my career working at 20th Century Fox Studios on the studio lot out there in Los Angeles. And it was an interesting experience, to be able to work both from the production aspect of it and also from the corporate side as well. And then when it was time to leave the business, again, I wanted to do something that I felt would be more fulfilling. And that's when I started the coaching program.
The audiobook coaching program your coaching firm offers is called Your Book, Your Voice. How does the Your Book, Your Voice program work?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Really excited about the program. I have two versions of the program. One is the VIP program. And basically, I work with authors on a one-on-one basis and take them through the entire process of setting up their own recording space. I provide them with the professional equipment that they need. And I don't mean like, cheapy mics and headphones. I mean the good stuff that's, I send these authors like $500 worth of equipment, and it's theirs to keep. It's part of the program. And then I show them how to do a great narration, how to be engaging and compelling and really being your true authentic self. And the other aspect of doing an audiobook is that there is editing and audio post-production that's involved, because it's more than just cleaning up the audio, making sure it sounds good, but you have to make sure that your audio files meet the exact specifications for publication, or else you'll get rejected. So that's a big factor. So I provide all the editing, and that's where the entertainment business comes into play, because I get to take all that experience and help them out. And so I do all the editing for them, and then I take their audiobook and I do all the uploading into Audible, Amazon, Apple, and any other distribution platform that they want to be published on. I do all the uploading for them. Now, the do-it-yourself program is a new facet of the business that I have launched. And basically, I have all the tools and techniques and videos and reference materials, everything you need for those authors who, they want to take the bull by the horns and say, I'm gonna do my own audiobook, and I'm gonna do it myself. So you have to have proper guidance. And that's why I created the do-it-yourself program, but it gives them everything that they need step by step to record, narrate, and publish their audiobook. I even teach them editing skills, things that they need to make sure that their audio matches the exact specifications for publication, so that they get it done right the first time, even if they're doing it through the do-it-yourself program. So those are the two versions of the audiobook coaching program that I offer.
On average, how long does the audiobook production process take? And I can understand how it would vary depending on the length of the book.
That's correct. Here's a good guideline. So let's say you have a book that's, let's say 40,000 words. It's, maybe a book that's like 150 pages. Now, on average, a person can narrate roughly about 9,300 words in an hour. So if you take that 40,000 words and you divide it by 9,300, you get about 4.3 of hours of actual audiobook time. So when it comes to doing the recording, I tell authors, you need to at least double that time. So if you were to double that time, 4.3 times 2 is 8.6 hours. So I would say, give yourself 9 hours to record your audiobook, because there's going to be mistakes. You're going to feel fatigued. There's going to be times where you'll need to take a break. So that's giving yourself enough time to do it. And then again, if you're doing the do-it-yourself program, you do have to do the editing. And I teach you how to do it, but it is a time-consuming process. So you can spend maybe roughly 6 to 8 hours per hour of editing. So it depends on how much you need to clean up and fix on your audio. Now, if you're in the VIP program, I take care of all that for the author, so they don't even have to worry about that aspect of it. But the do-it-yourself program, I designed it to be a 6-week program, but since it's do-it-yourself, you can take as long as you want. It's on your own schedule. The VIP program is a 12-week program. So that way we work with each other without having that pressure or overwhelm of feeling like, I got to hurry up and get it done. It's like, no, you have the time. We can get this done.
Why should nonfiction authors, if at all possible, narrate their own audiobook?
It's a really great question. The number one reason why nonfiction authors need to narrate their own audiobook is because it's their story. If you're an author and you wrote a memoir, or you're a coach, for example, why would you have another narrator tell your story? Now, you can get another narrator, and that's fine. There's a lot of great narrators out there, and technically they'll sound great, but the thing is, it's still their interpretation, not the author's interpretation. The author lived it, they breathed it, they experienced it, and only that author can express it the way that they want it to be expressed. So, for example, I had a couple of authors who shared about their cancer journey. Well, they lived through it. And another narrator, if you didn't live that experience, how are you able to express the subtle emotions that author went through, especially being a cancer survivor? So that's just one example. Or maybe, again, if you're a coach, it doesn't matter what kind of coach you are, weight loss coach, career coach, life coach, whatever it is, this is your coaching program that you created. And why would you have someone else talk about your program? It doesn't make sense. And the other beauty about narrating your own audiobook is that you are preserving not only the integrity of your author brand, but you're leaving a legacy, and you're leaving your legacy in your own voice. It's coming from the source. It's not like, a historian writing about Leonardo da Vinci. right? It's the author telling their story from first person, from the source. And that's such a great thing to be able to leave for generations to come. Of course, another great thing, Aaron, is when you do an audiobook, you are expanding your reach to the audiobook world, and you're creating another revenue source. So from a business standpoint, it makes a lot of sense as well.
What are some differences between how a nonfiction audiobook is produced, which I believe you have more expertise in, as opposed to a fiction audiobook?
Well, fiction authors can definitely narrate their own audiobook, but again, it depends on how the book is written. So, for example, if a fiction author wrote a book and they're telling a story that's more of a narrative, then the author should definitely narrate it. Doesn't matter whether it was fiction or nonfiction, they can still tell the story. Even if they have maybe just a handful of characters, they can still get the story across because it's the content that matters. You don't need to create voices and characters, for every single person that's written, that you wrote about in your book. Now, if you have a fiction book that's like, Star Wars or something that has a ton of different characters from different galaxies, and you want to create character voices or those kind of things, then I would definitely recommend that a fiction author go and hire a professional voiceover person who can do multiple voices, who can then bring the book to life utilizing those characters and dialects and voices. So it really depends on how the book is written. But in regards to the actual production, audiobook production, the process is pretty much the same about recording it, making sure you're engaging and compelling, making sure your audio is edited and meeting the exact specifications. All those things you're going to have to deal with, whether it's fiction or nonfiction.
What is the best place for an author to distribute his or her audiobook, and are there other places that handle audiobook distribution?
Absolutely. The number one place that all authors should distribute their audiobook, I call it the AAA: Audible, Amazon, Apple. You definitely need to be on those three distribution platforms because that's what the general public knows, and that's where they go to. And I find this happening more often than not, where someone will say, "Oh, you got a book? Oh, is it on Audible?" You see, they ask for it by brand name. They just don't say, "Oh, do you have an audiobook?" People say, "Oh, are you on Audible? Oh, can I grab it off of Apple Books?" Yeah, of course you can. Now, those are the three main ones. There are a ton of other distribution platforms, and it depends on what the author's marketing goals are. So, for example, if let's say you have your book published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple, and they distribute to the United States, to Canada, to the UK, to Ireland, to Japan. So you're hitting all these territories. And if your market is in those territories, then you might as well just be exclusive on Audible, Amazon, and Apple because it just makes it really easy for people to find you. Now, you can distribute on other distribution platforms. So let's say you want to be on Barnes and Noble, or you want to have your book in libraries, or maybe there's other distribution platforms, Rakuten, and there's a whole bunch. There's like 40 plus different distribution platforms you can be on. If that works for you and that fits into your marketing plan where you need to be on those distribution platforms, then absolutely go for it. So again, really it comes down to where you want to be distributed, what markets do you want to hit, and does that work as part of your marketing strategy? But again, I highly recommend, you have to be on Audible, Amazon, and Apple because the general public knows what that is. But then again, other distribution platforms, absolutely. If they work for you and you need to be on those, definitely you can be on those other platforms. But again, don't be like that pot of spaghetti that you throw against the wall and go, "Oh, let's see what sticks." That's not a good marketing plan. You really need to have something laid out before you decide where you want your audiobook to be distributed.
you've written a nonfiction book, and it's available in paperback, ebook, and audiobook formats relevant to this episode. Your book is titled Lights Action You. Without spoiling too much about your nonfiction book, what is your book about?
Oh, sure. I'd love to tell you about it. Yeah, Lights Action You. After my entertainment career was done and I moved on to do Robert Lane coaching, I had a lot of people ask me, they said, man, why don't you write a memoir? You worked all these years. I worked 30 plus years in the entertainment business. You worked all these years in the business. Oh, I bet you have some stories to tell. I laughed about it, but I thought, maybe that's not such a bad idea. So I decided to write Lights Action You, and I wanted to take the book to the next level. So what I did was, in the book, I pulled some of my best entertainment stories, behind the scenes stories. But with each story that I tell, an experience that I share, I tie in a tool or technique or a life lesson from the career coaching and life coaching aspect, so that when somebody reads the book, they'll get enjoyment and entertainment about the stories that they read. But then there's also something that can help them, or that they can get value out of. That's more than just an entertainment story. So, maybe you want to learn time management techniques, or how do you deal with a bad boss, or how do you overcome fear, those kind of things. And so I share those tools and techniques in the book as well. So again, just to make it more valuable than just an entertainment book. But yeah, the stories are fun. I think you'll enjoy it.
Did you produce the audiobook version of Lights Action You? And if so, what was that experience like?
Well, being an audio guy, I had in the back of my mind thinking, I do want to turn this into an audiobook. And at that time, I was doing only life coaching and career coaching, which is why the book is based on those concepts. So after I wrote and published the book, I then produced the audiobook myself. I learned, of course, how to do it and how to do it right and get it published the first time correctly. And then after I did that, that's when a lot of authors were approaching me saying, hey, I want to narrate my own audiobook. How do you do that? What's the process? And so I thought, wow, I need to expand my business so I can help these authors. So that's when I created the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program to do exactly that. And again, I'm very methodical, so I'm very step by step, and I make things really easy for authors to go through the process. Because honestly, creating an audiobook really is a process. And I know a lot of people, they get frustrated or they get overwhelmed. And so my job as a coach and an audiobook producer is to remove that overwhelm and just focus on doing a great narration. So if you're in the VIP program, that's why I do everything for the author. Do a great narration. Here's the equipment. I'll do all your editing. I'll do the uploading. It'll be great. And then again, for those authors who want to take the bull by the horns and do the do-it-yourself program, I wanted to make sure that everything that I provide in that program gives them all the tools that they need to have a successful and stress-free audiobook creation process.
One final question to close out this interview. How should an author go about developing his or her author brand?
Author brand, that is such a great question, Aaron, because you know what? Your author brand is so important. This is how I define an author brand. Your author brand is everything that encompasses who you are, the way you were brought up, your morals, your values, your belief systems, your personality, your sense of humor, and especially your voice, your actual voice. Everything about who you are is your author brand. And when you write and publish a book, I consider you a professional. I never consider any author a hobbyist. You're a professional. You wrote a book, you got it published. You're an entrepreneur. Welcome to entrepreneurship. It is a great thing. But that's what your author brand is. And the key to having a great author brand is being your true, authentic self. And that's what I tell the authors, especially when they're doing their audiobook. You don't need to sound like somebody else. You don't need to be, radio DJ person. Be yourself. Because when you are being your true, authentic self, that's actually what allows you to stand out in the crowd. And that's how people discover you, because they resonate with you and they love who you are as an author. So that's what your author brand is. And love your voice. Appreciate this wonderful sound that comes out of your body, because that, again, is something that's so unique just to you. And that is what encompasses your author brand.
Robert, thank you for appearing on the Apollo Papyrus podcast. You were a wonderful and insightful guest to interview.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
This podcast episode is intended for the private listening of our audience. Any reuse or retransmission of this podcast episode without the express written consent of the podcast host is prohibited except under fair use guidelines. Royalty-free music and sound effects obtained from https://www.zapsplat.com.